Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Tonight is the first lecture for the revision, and this is the final revision. In this final revision, I try to connect for you the chapters of the whole curriculum together and focus on the main points that help you link the curriculum with each other. I always say that this final revision lecture is very good for those who have studied because it gathers the curriculum for them and links it all together. But for those who haven't studied at all and still say, I will rely on the final revision and won't read the notes or listen to lectures or study what has passed and will only study this, no, that won't work. The exam relies heavily on distinguishing between a person who has studied quality, understands it, and has trained on questions, and another person who has merely skimmed through, listening to one or two lectures and solving a few questions. And that's not sufficient. We must go into the exam with full confidence in our studying and full confidence in our training on questions so that you all, inshallah, pass the exam. You must truly understand the curriculum very well and train on as many questions as possible. Solve as many questions as you can. But the important thing is that you understand the curriculum. All right? Are we all in agreement from the beginning? So that no one comes later and says, I only studied the final revision and did not review the curriculum, and I will not respond to you. Okay, let's begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. What do I need to do? Continuous quality improvement. The first thing is leadership commitment. Okay, this is the first thing, the leadership commitment. We always say that any quality initiative or any improvement that you want to implement without the leadership commitment, you won't be able to do anything. Therefore, the critical success factor is always the leadership commitment. This is the first step that leaders who will help and support me in fostering cultural change must also encourage all staff to be involved in the process. And of course, we are implementing quality improvement and we have the customer focus. And our goal and entire focus is on customer satisfaction or customer experience. We also conduct continuous training and continuous education and learning for all employees and working staff. For any service to fall under the quality aspect, three things must be available. Those are in the word MAP, and this stands for M, measurable, B, appreciative, P, perceptive. So the three main aspects of quality are measurable, meaning something I can measure, like adherence to standards or adherence to clinical practice guidelines, something I can evaluate quantitatively. When we say appreciative, what does appreciative mean? It means I can verify the quality of the staff or the reference for that staff, and I can confirm the competence of the practitioner. For example, conducting a peer review, bringing a peer doctor with the same qualifications and a specialization to review and ensure adherence to clinical practice guidelines. When we say perceptive, meaning as perceived by the customer, that the customer himself is satisfied with the service provided. For any service you provide to fall under the quality umbrella, it must meet all these dimensions of quality. We have the appropriateness, meaning that the service I am providing must be relevant to customer needs, meaning relevant to individual needs. That is, I provide the service based on the medical necessity of the patient's condition. We have timeliness, meaning that I provide the service in the shortest possible time. The best time to deliver the service, I shouldn't have a patient arriving and then waiting for hours before receiving the service, which could cause deterioration in their medical or health condition. We have availability and accessibility, meaning that the service must be easily accessible and readily available. We have competency, meaning that the physicians themselves must be competent. We conduct peer review. and ongoing peer review results to ensure competence. So if anyone needs education or training, we must provide it. We have continuity, meaning that the service must be coherent and unbroken. When we say effectiveness, meaning that the service I provide should result in a clinical outcome that achieves the desired medical outcome. For example, if a patient comes in complaining of pain or a health condition, they should leave with a good outcome, pain relief, and an improved medical condition. What about efficacy? This is equals to capacity. Efficacy refers to the capacity of the service itself. For example, when discussing a particular medicine, we look at its efficacy by assessing its capacity to treat the disease or reduce symptoms. That's what we meant by efficacy. Efficiency here refers to resources, providing a high quality service at a low cost, or making the optimal use of available resources. What about prevention and early detection? This is by promoting health and preventing diseases through awareness programs, encouraging also a healthy lifestyle, healthy diet, and similar health promoting actions, and implementing prevention programs to stop diseases before they even occur. We have here respect and caring, which means ensuring that the customer or the patient is treated with care and respect, encouraging the patient to be an active participant in their care plan. And the patient should be actively involved in the healthcare service provided to them, not just visiting a hospital for treatment without knowing their medical condition. And lastly, safety, minimizing the risk of adverse outcomes, because this applies to everyone in healthcare. That includes physicians, medical staff, all organizational staff, and patients, and even the physical environment, ensuring that the environment itself is safe for everyone. Is this clear? Do you have any question? If none so far, let's proceed.
It's okay.
The three, okay, thank you. The three dimensions that people focus on are efficacy, effectiveness, and efficiency. When do I choose efficacy? When discussing, for example, capacity or my ability to provide a certain service before I have actually provided it. If I say I have the efficacy to provide the service, it means I have the equipment, I have the staff, the instruments, supplies, and medications. Everything is available. So here I am talking about capacity or my theoretical ability to provide a service. Or when I am talking about the capacity to reduce symptoms or prevent a condition, that also refers to efficacy. When do I use effectiveness? When I have already implemented a clinical program and I am assessing the outcome, whether it was good or bad. Effectiveness is a practical concept because it evaluates real world results of what I have already provided. When do I use efficiency? When assessing efficiency, meaning assessing the resources, whether I have achieved optimal resource utilization or if there was overuse or underuse. The difference between service and products. When we say service, or services like medical services, which are intangible. I cannot hold them in my hands. The service I provide today is different from what I provide tomorrow or what I provided yesterday, depending on the patient, depending on the session, and many other factors that influence the service. That's why service is heterogeneous, meaning it varies. A service is perishable, meaning once I provide it, I cannot store it or resell it or even reuse it later. While product, unlike a service, a product can be used for 1 month or two and you can resell it. It has a fixed cost and you can even keep it in inventory or storage. But services are different. They are perishable, intangible, and cannot be stored or resold. Who receives goods or services? Hmm? A customer. One who receives goods or services. Okay, my goal in quality is to achieve a customer satisfaction. Is viewed in healthcare, okay, as an essential component of success in delivering quality, meaning value for the customer includes the price of care, interpersonal interactions, and the quality of the service received. And in order to achieve external customer satisfaction, I must start with the internal satisfaction. Who are the internal customers? Internal customers are the staff within the healthcare organization. All staff, starting from the governing body to any worker within the healthcare organization, these are called the internal customers. The internal customers must be satisfied so that they can provide a satisfying service to external customers. And who are these external customers? Anyone outside the organization, such as patients, families, visitors, suppliers. The suppliers are who provide the medical supplies, and payers. These are insurance companies that deal with the organization. Any person outside the healthcare organization is considered an external customer. Special problems for quality management in ambulatory care. Ambulatory means outpatient centers and primary care centers. One of the challenges I face in quality management in ambulatory care is that I cannot implement good management effectively. Why? Because medical records are scattered. The medical file is not unified and are still poorly developed. They have not implemented the medical health information technology. They have not implemented a unified medical records. What is the name of the system again? Any answer? Hmm? Yes, it is the medical record. Okay. In medical records, the data is scattered. For example, a patient goes to a medical complex where they have a medical file. They visit a dermatologist, an orthopedic doctor, a pediatrician, or any other specialist. Each visit results in a separate, independent medical record at each facility. The data is scattered and not integrated. Each healthcare organization has its own separate information, not linked to other facilities. So the patient's health data remains fragmented, leading to poor outcomes in ambulatory treatment because it is difficult to predict the outcome of the ambulatory treatment. In ambulatory care, patient controls their own medication. The doctor gives them instructions on how to take the medication, follow a healthy diet, and do exercise at home. But once the patient is at home, the doctor has no way of knowing if they are actually following the instructions or not. The patient is in control of their medications, unlike hospitalized patients who are under medical supervision and being monitored for their diet and medication intake. When we say access to specialty care, when a patient feels pain, they decide where to go based on their own judgment. Example, if they feel pain in their chest, they might go directly to a pulmonologist or in the chest specialist. But in reality, they might need to see a cardiologist instead. So instead of going to family medicine, where they would receive the proper guidance, they go straight to a specialist based on what they think is right. This self directed access to care is not always the right approach. In a hospital setting, this is different because The healthcare team directs the patient to the correct specialty. Difference between strategic planning and master planning. When we say strategic planning, this involves creating a strategic plan to produce a product or service based on customer needs. We analyze the customer needs, determine what they require, and then develop the service or product accordingly. Strategic planning begins with a SWOT analysis. We said that SWOT analysis is always the first step in any strategic planning process because this involves analyzing internal and external strengths and weaknesses. Planning is integral part of management, and the strategic plan covers a short-term time frame of 3 to 5 years. So after 3 to 5 years, there will be challenges and many challenges. So I must adapt to the era, respond to challenges, and adjust my strategic plan accordingly. In the past, master planning involved producing a product and then using a push strategy. Okay? Push strategy means manufacturers produce large quantities of a product, launch it into the market, and relied heavily on advertising to convince people to buy it. Second is started with a mission statement. And third, planning was not considered important and had a very long time frame because plans were created when organization was first established and were never modified again or only adjusted after a very long period. Quality assurance, meaning focus only on clinical aspects, while the total quality management or the TQM focuses on all aspects of the organization, including clinical aspects and non-clinical aspects like housekeeping and parking, communication and service delivery methods also. And in the past, quality improvement was departmental. Okay, departmental. So each department operated separately. If you wanted to implement improvement, you worked only within that department without involving others. Now all departments operate based on the patient flow. They are interlinked or cross departmental. There must be coordination between departments. Even when forming an improvement team, it should be cross functional with representatives from all departments. And in the past, when an error or we have the IOR incident occurrence report happened, people focus on who made the mistake. Errors were blamed on individual performance. For example, a nurse administers the wrong medication, so she is penalized or removed. Now, under the total quality management or the TQM, errors are viewed as system failures unless the error was intentional, which is completely different case. In most cases, errors occur due to systems failure, not individuals. Instead of asking who did that, we ask what happened. This approach helps us identify the root cause and fix the system itself. Quality assurance actions are taken only when a problem arises. If an issue occurs, we react, take action, and investigate the cause. While the TQM or the total quality management focuses on the continuous improvement. We analyze process continuously even before the failures occur. We are proactive, always working to enhance and refine processes before any issue arises. Next are the leadership styles. We have the autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire, transformational, transactional. When we say autocratic leadership, or we say bureaucratic and authoritarian leader, the autocratic leader makes a decision and then announces the decision to all team members. This leader does not take anyone's opinion at all. They make the decision alone and then inform everyone of the decision they made. So, when is autocratic leadership useful? It is very effective in what? In crisis situations, okay? Such as disasters, have emergencies, okay? Situations regarding urgent intervention. In such cases, there is no time for meetings, no time for discussions or debates, because an immediate decision is needed for autocratic leadership. What about the democratic leadership? This is like a parliament system. The democratic leader relies on majority, okay, agreement. What does this mean? Agree of the majority. The problem is presented, different solutions are discussed, and then each team member votes on a solution. The solution with the highest votes is chosen, and the leader focuses on majority agreement. What about the laissez-faire leadership or the hands-off leadership? This leader does not interfere in decision making at all. The group members are self-directed. They know their roles and responsibilities. Each member has empowerment to make the appropriate decisions on their own. The leader does not interfere in decision making or management at all. What about the transactional leadership? Manages, okay, don't forget these keywords, manages day to day operation. Transactional leader means daily operations manager because the leader focuses on the daily task and routine actions required from the team members. Their focus is on achieving daily goals. They rely on a system of rewards and punishments. What about the transformational leadership? Focuses on goals beyond daily operations. The leader does not focus on daily operations. Instead, their focus is on setting initiatives, empowerment, motivation and encouragement, and boosting team morale. The team members take over the management of daily operations while the transformational leader inspires and empowers them. And we have another also participative. Okay, participative leadership. Okay. Participative leadership is consensus based leadership. This leadership style is frequently tested in exams. It is always referred to as the best leadership style. Participative leadership means consultation and shared decision making. The leader presents the problem and all team members participate in discussions to gather opinions. Final decision, the team leader makes the final decision, but the decision is made by consensus, meaning that everyone supports it. The decision benefits the entire group. What's the similarities with the transformational and the transactional leadership? Both empower team members and both encourage and inspire the team, and both boost the team moral. Exam tip: how to identify the leadership style in questions. If the question mentions daily tasks or activities or management of daily operations, what will be the answer? Any answer? It is the transactional leadership. If the question mentions goals beyond daily operations or focuses on empowerment and encouragement, what's the answer here? It's either transformational or participative leadership. How to choose between transformational and participative leadership? Okay, this is the tip. If few people attend the meeting, you have the transformational leadership. Okay, few people. If many people attend the meeting, meaning it's a participative leadership. So that's the difference between the two type of or style of leadership. Any question? If none, then let's proceed. We have here, what is the difference between a leader and a manager? A leader always says, let's go. A manager says, go. What does that mean? Manager's role is that the manager is part of upper management and helps with planning, budgeting, establishing agendas, setting timelines, allocating resources, job placement, establishing rules and procedures, and solving problems when they arise. While the leader's role, the leader works alongside the team in daily actions. The leader is responsible for setting the vision, clarifying the strategies, communicating goals, building teamwork, energizing and empowering the team, okay, identifying and addressing team needs, motivating and inspiring team members, encouraging the team to achieve goals. Okay, so this is the difference of between leadership and the management. Let's examine the difference between the cost of conformance and the cost of non-conformance. When we say cost of non-conformance, okay, this is what we call the Cphq, also called the price of poor quality or price of non-conformance. When we say cost of conformance or the COQ, also called the price of quality or the price of conformance. How do they differ? In this slide is a key concept for quality leaders because it explains the difference between these two. When we say the price of non-conformance, the expenses. This includes the expenses associated with correcting the error, meaning the expenses associated is with serious errors, while the price of conformance includes expenses of executing quality and do the right thing from the beginning. The cost of ensuring quality and doing things right from the start. The price of non-conformance or the cost of poor quality, how much we will pay if a problem occurs and we need to fix it. Okay, beyond the financial costs, there are also legal risk. A lawsuit for compensation could wipe out years of financial gains, and the organization's reputation could suffer severe damage. So if the organization gets involved in a legal claim, it can spread quickly in the media, right? So for example, a medical error in treatment or delivery results in serious patient harm or major injury. This damages trust in the organization, and it will lead to huge financial losses and a loss of investment. Why should we wait to pay the price of nonconformance. Instead of waiting to pay for mistakes, we should invest in quality from the start. This means taking on the cost of conformance from the beginning. The price of conformance or the cost of quality, the COQ. This refers to the expense of ensuring quality and doing things right from the start. This includes costs like implementing quality standards, obtaining accreditation, and setting up quality procedures, and developing quality control processes. Initially, implementing quality may seem expensive, but after some time, costs decrease significantly because quality becomes embedded in the system. And the cost of preventing errors becomes the main focus. The cost of quality should focus on prevention, okay, not correction. Example, failure mode and failure mode and effect analysis, or the FIMEA. We analyze the potential process failures before they happen. And this allows us to prevent errors before they occur. The bottom line here is the cost of conformance, or the COQ, may seem expensive at first, but in the long run, it saves much more money and it prevents the massive financial and reputational losses associated with cost of non-conformance. Okay, vision. What is vision? Is a future-oriented statement. It is the future outlook of the organization because it always a statement that expresses the future. It typically starts with to be or to become. Example, to be a leading investment services institution in Saudi Arabia. The vision represents the future goal I want to achieve. A strategic plan must be developed to reflect and achieve this vision. When we say mission, the purpose and role in the market. What is mission? It defines the organization's purpose. It's a reason for existing. For example, treat our clients as partners and provide high quality, distinctive investment products and services. It answers why do we exist in the market? The mission is the goal or role that the organization serves in the market. Then what about values? These are the core principles and beliefs. Values are the principles the organization believes in. Unlike the vision and mission, values are not statements. They are key words. Examples of values are integrity, professionalism, reliability, loyalty, commitment, and local knowledge, and so on. Once an organization sets its vision, mission, values, what's the next step? The next step is to develop a what? A strategic planning. Very good. A strategic plan. This strategic plan will help achieve the vision. In strategic planning and the role of SWOT analysis, when we say SWOT analysis, what S stands for? Strength. W, weaknesses. Yes. O, opportunities and threats. Strategic planning always begin with the SWOT analysis. So after ensuring the leadership, again, back to leadership, commitment, where leaders define the vision, mission, values. What is the first step in strategic planning again? It is the SWOT analysis. When we say, what is SWOT analysis? SWOT analysis means analyzing the internal strengths and weaknesses. And these are the internal factors. What about the external factors? These are the external opportunities and threats. And based on the SWOT analysis, I can then define my strategic goals. Let's define goals based on the SWOT analysis. In the strength section, here, we have here. Okay, I write down all the internal strengths. For example, special expertise, reputations, costs, advantages, technology advantages, etc. Okay, and in the weakness section, what are these factors? I write down all the internal disadvantages, such as limited service lines, for example, marketing deficiencies, management of staff problems, and etc. How do I define goals from the SWOT analysis? After defining your strengths and weaknesses, I use them to define my goals. For example, instead of having a limited service lines, I create a goal to expand the service line. If I have a marketing deficiencies, I set a goal to strengthen marketing efforts. Any problem listed under weaknesses should have a corresponding goal to overcome and fix it. What about the external opportunities and threats? I also analyze external opportunities and crises. Here, I define opportunities, okay, that can strengthen my position. Threats that could weaken my competitive standing. So from this, I also extract goals. After setting the goals, we then define our objectives. What is the difference between the goal and the objective? Both goals and objectives must be smart. What
Smart.
SMART stands for? S, specific. M,
AFT.
yes, Radha. What is
Measurable.
M? Very good. Letter A,
Measurable.
achievable. R,
Achievable.
realistic. And T, time bound. The
Time
key
that.
difference. Yes, thank you so much. Excellent, Radha. The key difference, goals, when we say goals, these are inspirational. Goals are the general aspirations I set for myself, for example. Example, expand services, increase customer satisfaction, and increase income. I don't specify how I will achieve these goals. While for the objective, the how to, okay, the how to of goals. Objectives define how. Okay, define how I will achieve the goals. Again, the objective is the quote unquote how to of goals. Objectives define how I will achieve the goals. Example, if my goal is expand services, the objective would specify which services to expand. For example, we have dermatology clinic or mesotherapy fillers and etc. So the action plan will be for these departments. And we have to specify also the responsible person for each action, the required timeline for execution, and the budget allocation. How strategic planning flows? Okay. Leaders define, our leaders here, leadership commitment defines the mission, vision, and values. The first step of the strategic planning is the conduct the SWOT analysis. Okay. Next, from SWOT analysis, we then define our goals. From goals, we set specific objectives. Each department now gets an action plan, okay, with a budget and timeline. Clear? Okay. So if there's no question, then let's proceed. Let's review together the Donabejan paradigm as the healthcare model about the systems, approach, and its causal relationship. What did Donabedian say? He said that you must measure the healthcare performance. How do you measure it? You must establish what? Establish KPIs or the key performance indicators. Okay, what are these three types of KPIs? We have here structure,
Process and outcome.
process, and outcome. When we say structure KPI, structure refers to anything that measures the physical setup or the anatomy of healthcare. Examples that includes the staffing levels, the departments, equipments, supplies, and the environment. We also to include parking availability, also availability of medical records and staff working hours. For example, 24-hour shift, 8-hour shifts, or 12-hour shifts based on the organizational policy. When we say process KPIs, process are actions performed based on available structure. Relationship between the structure and process is that structure is the main cause of having having a process. Without structure, there can be no process. Process refers to any action taken. For example, compliance with care pathways. We have the adherence to protocols, decision or ordering, nursing procedures, housekeeping services, transportation services, compliance with any procedure or policy, and time taken to perform a function also calls under process KPIs. What about the outcome KPIs? Outcome refers to the final results based on a completed process. So what is the result? Example, we have death, disease, disability, discomfort, dissatisfaction, destitution, or cost, mortality rate, morbidity rate, disease rate, disability rates, patient dissatisfaction, infection rates. Any measurable result is considered an outcome KPI. So that is the Donabedian's healthcare model. There are three types of outcome measures. We have the clinical outcome, functional outcome, and perceived outcome. When we say clinical outcome, this refers to the clinical results following a medical procedure. Example, we have the complication rates, adverse events, mortality rates, and short-term results of treatment or any procedure. Whether the result is positive or negative, it is still considered a clinical outcome. When we say functional outcome, this refers to the patient's ability to perform daily activities. For example, a patient who was admitted weak, bedridden, and unable to care for themselves. Another sample is after treatment, the patient is able to perform activities of daily living, or we have the ADL, and long-term health status, activities of daily living status, and the patient progress toward meeting stated outcome objectives like the behavioral. So all of these are considered functional outcomes. When we say perceived outcome, this refers to patient satisfaction with the service. Example, is the patient satisfied or dissatisfied with the service? Or we have example, acceptance of the service. And another is satisfaction with communication during treatment. We have here patient family satisfaction. We also have patient family level of understanding and knowledge, and peer acceptability. The reimbursement systems is the payment method, meaning what are the payment methods that healthcare organizations use to receive payment for the services provided to the patient. So it's either retrospective or prospective. What does retrospective mean? It means I will receive the money from the medical service is provided. Retrospective is like the discounted fee for service or the DFFS. So in fee for service or FFS, after providing the service, they collect the claims or they collect the monthly claims for each insurance company and request reimbursements from the companies. Or the patient comes, receives a service, and after receiving the service, pays for it. So that is a retrospective. What about prospective? Is preferred, okay? Because it reduces the challenges or problems we face in retrospective. Prospective is like diagnosis related groups or the DRGs, where we determine the cost of the service based on the diagnosis and the ICD codes, which determine the accurate code for the disease and the accurate price. The case rate here, like treatment based on the entire case rate, such as treatments approved by the state, by capitation or KPM. KPM in healthcare means key performance measures in healthcare that are essential for monitoring the patient outcomes, safety, efficiency, and quality of services. Okay, so when we say capitation system is the one that tells you that the payment is per capita. It's a prepaid. Okay, it's a prepaid fixed amount. Per patient model. It's a fixed amount per patient model. So under this system, healthcare providers receive a set amount per patient per period. So for example, per month or per year, regardless of how many services the patient uses. So like per member per month, per member per month. Okay, or what you call the PMPM. That's payment per head, not per service. So for example, I have 100 employees, okay? I'll contract with you to provide the medical services. The cost per employee, okay, per employee, it says that $2,000, for example. So $2,000 multiplied by 100, that will give you $200,000. So I will pay the $200,000 every month or every year, depending on the contract terms we agree on. But in reality, whether they receive money services or few services, I'm not concerned. Don't disagree with me, because I am paying you a fixed PMPM or per member per month amount per person. So I will pay a fixed amount regardless of whether they receive services or not. This is the reimbursement system. Okay, what's the difference between a complication and a comorbidity? When we say complications are things that happen to the patient that were not present on admission. Okay. Meaning the complication occurred as a result of a medical procedure or action that the patient underwent within the healthcare organization. The patient was not admitted with this complication. The patient came in, had an MRI or an endoscopy or anything done, and any medical procedure we performed resulted in any side effects. This is considered a complication. These complications, when they increase, place a burden on the healthcare organization, not to the patient or to the family. Now, comorbidity refers to present on admission conditions. These are the accompanying illnesses that the patient already has. The patient comes in for gallbladder surgery and they have hypertension, diabetes, and other things. And we call it multiple comorbidities. This can increase, meaning the complications. They can increase the incidence. So in this case, the incidence increase as a result of the comorbidities. The patient is the one who bears this increased burden. Okay? Next, come now to the accreditation chapter. I like to summarize the accreditation chapter in this slide. If we understand the steps in this slide very well, then inshallah, we have secured the accreditation questions. When they tell you that an organization is seeking accreditation or that they want to obtain a specific accreditation, what would be the first step? The first step is that I need to have a leadership commitment. All right, now I have the leadership commitment, and all the leaders are with me, supporting me, and cooperating with me. So here, this is a quality professional. So, what is the next step? I bring the standards and I review them. I conduct a review or becomes familiar with the appropriate standards. Why do I do a review of the standards? I review the standards to be familiar with them, understand them, and know what they are talking about. After that, I assign a team for the accreditation. I will form the accreditation specific team. The accreditation team will be composed of what? Chapter owners.
Leaders.
Yes. What does chapter owners mean? It means that each person in their department is a chapter owner. This will be the main committee responsible for leading accreditation team. Each person is responsible for leading a specific chapter. After that, they will form a team within their own department to conduct education and implementation of their specific chapter. So from the chapter owners, other specialized teams will later emerge. However, the chapter owners from the accreditation team that I have established, later they will be responsible for conducting a standard education and implementing the standards across their entire department. After that, I will communicate accreditation process to all staff through accreditation team, which consists of the chapter owners. Before the visit comes to us and before the scheduled visit, we can communicate about the accreditation process. So the frequently asked questions, the ones you might be asked, how will you answer them? So I can conduct a mock survey or a simulation of the visitors visit to show them the types of questions that might be asked, how they will review the documents, how they will conduct personal interviews, observations, and so on. So I will explain to them, okay, to them the environment of the surveyors, educate all the staff members, the frequently asked questions by the surveyors, and check the compliance to standards. So also here I can conduct a checklist for compliance with the standards. Here you might also be asked the review adherence. Review adherence means, okay, review adherence means that I also conduct a review of adherence to the standards, meaning I verify and review the commitment to applying the standards. Review adherence is different from the first review of standards. Again, review adherence is different from the first review of standards. When we see review in the question, okay, review, we should not rush. We must check whether the question is referring to the first step or the last step. If it is the first step, then look for the review. Okay. Look for the review standards. Okay. First step. It's not the review adherence. But if review adherence is there, so review adherence is the last step. Okay, clear? All right, now let's talk about benchmarking. What does benchmarking mean? It means that I compare my performance with others. I will compare myself and my performance in the data set in the market with the best entity in the process that I am comparing. The key to effective benchmarking is that to be sure you are comparing the same processes in both organizations. It must be between the same positions. It must be between the same positions within both organizations. I must ensure that I am comparing myself with the same positions in both organizations. So, what are the steps of benchmarking? The first step is that I identify the benchmark. What is the element that I want to benchmark? Do I want to conduct benchmarking for churn rate, service satisfaction rate, handling time, or something else? I define what I want to benchmark. Then after that, I identify the competitors or the benchmark entity. This entity or individual that I will be comparing myself with. Then I start comparing my performance, evaluating my performance and identifying the gap between me and them. Of course, in order to identify the gap, I must conduct a performance assessment. For example, if my churn rate, when we say churn rate, also known as the customer attrition rate, is the percentage of customers, subscribers, or employees who leave a service company or product over a given period of time. So, for example, if my churn time is a total of 5% and have a retention rate of 2% or 3%, then let's analyze the gap between them and me. So we begin studying the causes and the tools, creating the improvement plans, implementing these plans or act to achieve the performance improvement. So what is the essence of the benchmarking? Or what is the goal of benchmarking? Is performance improvement, okay, to enhance performance. What does empowerment context mean? It means enablement, meaning I grant them responsibility, give them the ability to make decisions, allow them access to resources, and provide them with the authority to make important decisions in order to solve problems. So, what does empowerment enable for an employee? It enables them to solve problems. For empowerment to happen, the individual must be properly trained. They must be well trained in the mission, vision, and organization. Then I must assign them a position to make decisions in. Empowerment enables people to take ownership of the job, make decisions, take responsibility for these decisions, and add value to the job or the results. What about the conflict resolution? If there is a conflict between teams, how will we solve it? This falls under the conflict resolution. And what is conflict resolution? It is negotiation. Negotiation is the best solution. It's the art of conferring, discussing, or bargaining to reach agreement. We have two types of negotiation. We have the hard negotiation, which means that out for the kill. And we have the soft negotiation, must be liked by other side, giving in to ensure a good feeling. It is principled or interest-based negotiation, which means win-win. It is the art of win-win. Negotiation is the art of win-win, meaning that every team involved will come out of the negotiation feeling that neither side has been disadvantaged at the expense of the other. It is not win-lose nor lose-lose, but rather win-win, where both sides walk away feeling satisfied. What does win-win mean? It means seeking mutual benefits for all parties. In negotiation, I focus on the problem. I focus on solving the problem itself tips. Just like when you deal with someone as a friend, not an enemy, I focus on solving the problem. So for me to conduct negotiation, I must think about the problem, understand how each party perceives it, and analyze their arguments from their own perspective. Then we come to an agreement on that perspective. Search for the mutual gain based on each person's real interest. I talk to them and I apply what is called a sympathetic approach. I acknowledge each person's point of view. I don't just tell someone, Annie, you are wrong. Instead, I say, what do you think about another idea? How about we look at the issue from a different angle? How do you think about choosing this option? And how about we try this? And so on. So that in the end, both parties reach a win win outcome. Any questions so far? Okay, next.
No.
What? Okay. So let's move on. What is the topic of the consensus? So what does it mean? Consensus means the overall support for a decision, meaning that everyone supports the decision. When every team member is involved in making a decision regarding a specific issue or problem, I want to come out of the meeting with consensus. Consensus is not what everyone agrees to, okay? But an acceptable resolution, one that can be supported by everyone. Even if not the favorite of each one, means all support decision. All support decision. That is the decision we made, meaning every team member participated in making the decision, but what I aim to achieve is consensus. What does consensus mean again? It means that every team member
Everyone's
supports this decision. Does this mean that every team member must agree? Does it mean that everyone must agree? Radha? Anyone?
yes.
Yes or no?
Everyone yes.
No, Radha. Everyone agreeing is called an unanimous. Unanimous. Okay, unanimous. But in consensus, we say all support. In consensus, we say all support, not all agree. This means that maybe 3 people agreed with the idea and others did not initially agree because they believe their opinion or viewpoint was better. However, in the end, they went along with the decision we made and supported the decision we all agreed on. So, not everyone has to agree. Consensus does not necessarily mean that everyone agrees with that decision from the beginning, but it means that everyone supports it. Everyone's opinion are heard and that respects the opinion. And this is all support decision. Everyone supports it. Okay? Everyone supports.
Support.
Tamam? Now, resiliency. What is resiliency? It means immunity. It is the process of adapting well in the face of diversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, and any significant source of stress, then bounce back to the normal state. The 8 principles of resiliency is under the visual metaphor of an umbrella. So we have the diversity, which means encouraging variety in approaches, perspectives, and solutions. We have redundancy, meaning building backups and alternatives to ensure continued functionality. When we say decentralization is avoiding dependence on a single point of failure by distributing decision making and processes. For collaboration, this emphasizing the teamwork and cooperation for stronger outcomes. When we say transparency, open communication and clear visibility to process and decisions. Graceful failure, meaning ensuring systems can fail without catastrophic consequences, allowing recovery, while flexibility, adapting quickly and effectively to changing conditions. And lastly, the foresight means anticipating future challenges and preparing accordingly. As individuals, we must have resilience. We must also train our children in resilience. When a problem occurs, we resolve it and move on. We get rid of the stress, then return to our normal state so that we can think clearly about how to act. We do not stay stuck in the drama of what happened, overthinking it. What happened, happened. Let's move forward. Come on. What is the solution to that? What is this situation trying to teach me? What can we learn from this disaster? What is the solution then? Let's focus on the solution, not dwell on the problem. I also mentioned that resilient organizations are those that can adapt to environmental changes. So, for example, during the COVID-19, organizations with resilience and adaptability quickly adjusted, offering online consultations and online services. These were the organizations that survived. Meanwhile, others said, I cannot modify my products or I cannot shift my services from on-site to online. So resilience is very important for both organizations and individuals. Now let's talk about change, which is always a frequent topic in exams. Change means innovation. Means innovation.
English model.
Okay. When I say I want to facilitate change, that means I want to facilitate a change in culture. It could be a change in group work or a change in the system. For example, I might change the system from paper based to paperless electronic systems. That is change. Now, what are the key steps of change? As Cotter said, the first step is to have a strong leadership. Then create urgency by identifying, okay, problems and making people aware of them. If the problems are not obvious in the question, we can conduct in depth discussions to analyze the issues in each department. One of the best ways to create urgency is to clearly highlight the existing problems and make them feel urgent. After that, we form a powerful, okay, that's step two, powerful coalition. We build what we will build?
Will the team.
A team. We
Only.
build a team. Then we create a vision for change, setting a clear direction for how the change will be implemented. We then communicate the vision. The first step in action is to empower the staff. Okay? This is the first action is to empower the staff. We must notice the empowerment as the first action step. Why do I emphasize the empowerment is the first action step? Because in exams, you might get a question asking, what is the first step to facilitate change? Yalla Radha, what? Is to empower
First
the staff or
action.
empowerment. You may also
Mm,
see options like empower staff and identify problems. Which one do you choose? So if the question is asking about the very first step, Then what's your answer? Very first step.
Inform.
No, you have
Inform.
to
Let's
identify
create the
problems,
identify the problems.
create
First,
urgency. But if the question is
yeah,
about the first action step, then it is the empower staff.
environment.
Okay. After that, what can I do? Hmm? What can I do here? Is to create quick wins. What
Quick
does this
wins.
mean? It means conducting a pilot test.
Pilot study.
Yes, a pilot test is one of the best tools for facilitating change. Why? Because it demonstrates the benefits of the change in a practical way. It is conducted in a small scale to
Pilot
test
study.
feasibility. After that, we move on to developing change, meaning full implementation of the change. Then comes reinforcing the change, stabilizing the progress that we achieved.
Okay.
Now let's talk about the Lewin's model. Lewin's explained that whenever you want to implement improvement or facilitate change, there are two different forces involved. We have the driving force and the restraining forces. Whether the change is successful or unsuccessful depends on which force is stronger. If the driving forces are stronger, then the restraining forces,
Restraining forces.
okay, so then the change will be successful. So this is called what? Force,
Levens. Mhm.
force field analysis. Hmm. It is the process of evaluating the driving force and restraining force to determine whether the change will succeed or fail. Huh? Clear?
Mhm.
So, according to Lewin, you should not start by simply increasing the driving forces. Instead, momentum is first achieved by removing restraining forces, and only then
Forces.
should you increase the driving forces. Before adding a lot of driving forces, the first step is to remove the barriers. So, which are restraining forces are barriers, Radha. Okay. So these stages of change align with resilience. During change, we must renew negative beliefs within staff. In the unfreezing, change involves psychological safety. Okay? Psychological safety. People often experience fear and uncertainty when faced with change. They feel that change will disrupt their daily lives. The solution is to create a sense of psychological safety. By how? By introducing the change gradually. If change is introduced step by step, people will not feel overwhelmed or confused, of course. Then, in the moving stage, we implement the change, providing information that suspects proposed changes and bring about actual shifts in behavior. And finally, we reach the refreezing stage where we stabilize and reinforce the implemented change. Clear? Is it clear?
Okay.
Okay. Now, the first step when initiating the change is to analyze the current state or situation and assess the organization readiness for change. So the first step is assessment using the Palmer's change model or Palmer's change diagram. I will go to the change diagram, which will measure the organization's readiness for change from leadership
to the environment, to teamwork, and everything else. I will evaluate these factors, answer all the related questions, and then proceed with the change steps based on this change diagram. So the first step is, I've said, assessment. So after that, you analyze the current state, then move to generating change, which is the transition state. You implement the changes, create a vision for change, communicate the vision, and work on improvements and key actions. Then you reach the improved state. Finally, the last stage is anchoring the change, meaning stabilizing the change you have achieved. We will talk about the stages of team development, the phases any team goes through during its formation. The first stage is the
Mhm.
forming stage. This is the first phase where I form the team. Okay, at this stage, we are just getting to know each other. As manager, my focus in this stage is to identify, okay, the goals. I clarify to the team why we have formed the team, what our objective is, and what we are expected to achieve. We start getting to know each other. So during the forming stage, people are usually a bit nervous and uncertain. They wonder, what is my role? Will I add value to the team? There is often a lot of hesitation and fear. So the next stage is the storming stage. At this point, conflicts start to arise as everyone expresses their own opinions and perspectives. Each person begins to rely on um, excuse me. At this point, conflicts start to arise as everyone expresses their own opinions and perspectives, and each person begins to rely on their personal viewpoint, leading to these agreements. So during the storming stage, there is no productivity at all. So no progress or goal achievement. After that, we move on to the norming stage. This is where we finally start working. At this stage, we have already gotten to know each other. We understand our roles, and everything is now clear between us. Now we begin to work together to optimize teamwork. In the norming stage, there is cohesion. Okay, there is cohesion towards the goal. And we've become focused. Okay, we become focused and aligned on achieving our objectives. Then comes the performing stage. At this point, the team is fully committed to performing the work. We stay focused on completing tasks and reaching the final outcome. Okay, so the fifth and final stage is the adjourning stage. This is where we have achieved our goal and now celebrate the team success. Now, if someone asks, when does team disbanding occur? Hmm? What does disbanding mean? Disbanding.
Where it
Okay, disbanding means
bonding
dissolving.
occurs in the norming state.
Yeah, disbanding, it means dissolving the team. So at what stage do we disband the
Norming,
team? Where? In?
norming,
Where? No, it's the
performing,
adjourning stage.
adjoining state. Okay.
Adjourning stage. Because after we have achieved our goal, we disband the team because its purpose has been fulfilled.
Achieved.
Yes, achieve. Very good, Radha. Now, another question. Who is responsible for disbanding the team? Who?
The team
Who?
members, the team
Huh?
members, the team members,
The responsible is the who? The
The team member.
leader.
Team member.
Leader, Radha. It's the
Okay.
leader. Okay. The leader is
Okay.
the one who conducts the evaluation of the team and decides to disband it. Okay, another question. If the team disbands prematurely, disbands prematurely, what's the answer here? Or immature disbanding. Yes, what's your answer?
They are the storming stage.
Very good. Yes. If the team disbands prematurely, meaning the disbanding happens immaturely, at what stage? It
Storming.
happens in the storming stage. If the team disbands too early, it means failed in the too
Storming
early.
stage.
Too early.
Forming stage.
Disbanding too early is in the forming stage because
Stage.
it did not progress properly through
Made the
team
team.
development. Very good, Radha. Okay,
Mm.
let's now differentiate between data and information. What is the difference between these two? Data refers to raw facts, unstructured, unorganized, or unanalyzed properties. For example, if I say I have 3 patient calls, but I don't know over what time period these calls occurred. Did the 3 patient calls happen over a week, over a day, or a month? Or are they increasing or are they decreasing? Did I compare them with last month's numbers, last year's numbers, or another department? I don't know. Of course,
No.
I only have the raw data and I
Data.
cannot make a decision based solely on it. But if I take this raw data, organize it into tables and applications, display it on a specific type of chart depending on the data type, and then interpret the data. Now it shows me that patient calls are increasing or decreasing. So this is called information. That is exactly what we do in information management or data management. We transform the raw data, okay, which consists of unorganized facts, into information. We process, organize, and present the data in a way that provides knowledge. When I display data on a graph, it provides knowledge. Then this knowledge helps in
Decision making.
very good. Yes. So now we have explained it in detail. Let's proceed to the different types of data. It is also important to understand the types of data. Why? Because when I know the type of data I am working with, I can correctly select the right strategies for displaying and analyzing it. There are two main types of data. We have the categorical or the parametric, non-parametric or continuous data. And we have, the non-continuous, and we have the continuous data, or we call the parametric. In continuous data, this type of data can include decimal values. For example, we have the age, height, weight, temperature, the time, charges, or the length of stay. Okay, all of these types of data can have decimal values. For instance, the length of stay could be 1.5 days or 2.25 days, since it have a decimal point. It can have decimal points. It is classified as continuous data. For continuous data, we apply statistical tests. So if I want to perform a different analysis, I use the t-test. The display tools I can use include, we have the histogram, run chart, control chart. Okay, so whenever I see a continuous data, I think of one of these 3 tools. So I mentioned these are the continuous. And for the measure of central tendency, we use the mean. For the non-continuous data, categorical data, or the non-parametric, what are examples of this? This includes descriptive data or the qualitative data. So we have example members, patients, births, procedures, occurrences, and gender. All of these are all descriptive and are classified as non-continuous data. To display non-continuous data, we use these three. We have the Pareto, bar, or the pie charts. Discrete data, okay, when we say discrete data, a type of continuous data that can also be a qualitative. Qualitative. This means that the numbers are whole numbers and they cannot include decimals. So, for example, for the patient's visit, a patient visit count is always a whole number. I cannot say a patient visited 1.5 times or 2.25 times. So, it is either one visit or no visit at all. Discrete data is often structured as either yes or no variables. Visited or did not visit. Yes or no. Since patient visits are always in whole numbers, they are classified as non-continuous data. For non-continuous data, we apply the statistical test like the median for ordinal and mode for nominal. So the appropriate display tools, we have the pie chart, bar chart, and the Pareto charts. We have all explained this many times, and I believe they are now clear to everyone. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the central measure of the central tendency. Central tendency is measured using the three main metrics. We have the mean, median, and mode. When we say the mean or the arithmetic mean, the average is the average value calculated using this formula. So mean is equals to sum of all values over the total number of values. So for example, we have values of three, okay, sorry. For example, of 3, 2, 4, and 5. Okay, to calculate the mean, I add them total and then divide by the number of values. So in here, 3 plus 2 plus 4 plus 5 is equals to how much? 14, right? And how
1
many
plus
values we have here? Divide by 4.
4.
So which gives us an answer of 3.5.
3.5.
Very good. Okay. So this is how we calculate the mean or the average. So by the way, you should always understand these concepts because these relate to the normal distribution in here. Normal distribution curve. In normal distribution curve, when the data is continuous, the mean, mode, and median align always in the center. Okay. So also with one standard deviation, meaning from here, one standard deviation in here. So data covers 68% of values. When we say the two standard deviation from here, 13.5 to 13.5 up to here, this covers 95% of values. And the three standard deviation from here up to here, data covers for about 99.7 of values. Next is the median. The median is what we call the 50th percentile. It is the value that divides the data set into two equal halves. When calculating the median, the first thing to do is to ensure the value are sorted, either in ascending or descending order. So for example, if I have numbers, 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, 7. The median is the value that divides them into two equal halves. So if the values are not sorted, the median will be incorrect. So we have set of data here that is already sorted out. So now to find the median, we use this formula, n, okay, n small n is equals, n plus 1 over 2, okay? So where n is the total number of values. So how many values do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, right? 7. So if I have 7, then 7, you substitute 7 plus 1 is equals to 8.
8
Divide by 2. That gives
by
you
2.
an answer of
4.
4. Okay. So this means the fourth value in the sorted list is the mean. Okay. So where is our fourth value here? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is
4.
our mean. Mean median, I'm sorry. So if I have an even number of values, the result may be a decimal like 2.5. So for example, in here, for example, if n is 4, okay, so 4, for example, 4 is the n plus 1, okay, over 2. That gives you 5 over 2. So what is the answer here? It's 2.5 if the even number of values, okay? If the number of values is even, our 4 here is the n value, right?
Right.
So plus 5, that plus 1 gives us 5 over 2, 2.5 decimal point. With decimal point, 2.5. So since 2.5 is between second and third, I take the average of these two numbers. Okay, I take the average of these two numbers. If the second and third values were 6 and 7, okay, so 6 plus 7 over 2, 13. That gives us 6.5. If the
0.5.
numbers were 35 and 45, then you have to total these 35 and 45 over 2. So that will give you 40, the answer. So this is how we calculate the median. When the result falls between two values, now let's test with another data set. Okay, I will give you another data set here. 2, 2, 3, and 3. So using the n plus 1 over 2, okay, so 4 plus 1 is equals to 5, tama, over 2, that gives you 2.5. So this means the median is between the 2 and thirds. This is what I mentioned before. So since these values are 2 and 3, we take the average. So by how? By the average 2 and 3, between 2 and 3 here. So 2 plus 3 over 2. That gives us 2.5. Okay, so it is here, in between here, 2.5. If I add another value, like the 3, to make it 5 numbers, then we have 5 plus 1 over 2. That gives us 3. The third value is the sorted list in the median. So the third, 1, 2, 3. This is the answer. So that is how to get the median. So what about the mode? The mode means the most frequent value. What is the mode? It is the most frequently occurring number. It can be unimodal, and you can be multimodal, bimodal, and trimodal. When we say unimodal, one mode, bimodal, two modes, and the three modes, we call it trimodal. For example, if I have here 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the mode is, what is the mode here?
1.
1. Very good.
1.
Because it appears how many times?
2 times.
2 times. Okay, it appears 2 times. So if I have, for example, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, and 4. So there are 2 numbers that appear twice. So what number are those? 1 and 2.
2.
So is it bimodal, trimodal, or multimodal? What do you call this? It is bimodal, because the modes are the 2 numbers that
2
appear
times.
twice, which are 1 and 2. And this, what we call this, it is the bimodal mode, okay? So, and the modes are 1 and 2. So we call it bimodal. Okay, so next will be the statistical tests. To analyze data, we use different statistical tests. Continuous data using the t-test. Categorical measures using the chi-square. While the student t-test for comparing 2 groups. Okay, and then ANOVA for comparing more than 3 groups. We have also two types of t-tests. We have the independent t-test for the two different groups and dependent t-tests for before and after comparisons within the same group. So we have the JCI guidelines for sampling. These sample sizes are considered as statistically significant and can be applied to measure activities per specific period. So if, for example, if we have the population size of less than 30 cases. So you have the sample size, you have to get the 100% of available cases, so which you have here. So you get it all. So if you have a population size of from 30 to 100 cases, so choose or select 30 cases. For 101 to 500 cases, then you get 50 cases, and more than 500 cases, okay, you get 70 cases. This is according to JCI guidelines, okay?
Mhm.
Now, let's move on. Sampling techniques. Sampling is crucial in statistical analysis. There are two types of sampling. We have probability sampling and the non-probability sampling.
Probably.
Probability means a random selection, while non-probability is a non-random selection. When we say probability sampling, used when we want to generalize findings to the entire population. Types include, we have the simple random sampling, which randomly selecting individuals from the population. And we have the stratified random sampling, dividing the population into groups and selecting a proportionate number from each group. We have also the cluster random sampling, dividing into groups and selecting an entire group at random. We have also the non-probability sampling. So used when generalization is not required. And the types include the convenience sampling, which is to select in participants based on availability, like patients visiting on a particular day. We have a snowball sampling here, a chain referral method, for example, in HIV or COVID-19 research. Quota sampling is selecting a specific percentage of participants from different categories. And lastly is the judgmental or purposive sampling, selecting a sample based on a specific criteria. For example, only males over 65 years old. Okay? Data collection tools help determine the type of sample and depend on the method used for data collection. If I collect data through observation, interviews, or focus group, then I am collecting a qualitative data. If I collect data through Likert scale, rating scales, surveys, questionnaires, then I am collecting a quantitative data. Okay, Likert scales are also quantitative, Likert. Okay. Now let's review some definitions from this slide. When developing a questionnaire or other data collection tool, there are certain terms that need to be understood. What is the definition of sensitivity? The ability of a measurement tool to identify all positive cases. The sensitivity is always associated with false negatives. For example, if I have a test of 95%, okay, sensitivity, what does this mean? It means that if I have, okay, 100 individuals, okay, all of whom actually have the disease, these 100 individuals. The 95% sensitivity test will correct identify 95 of them is positive. Okay, 95 of them is positive. So what about the 5% or the 5 cases?
5% is false.
So they will be classified
negative.
as, yes, false or
False
negative. But this is a false negative because in reality, all 100 were all positive. So sensitivity measures how well a test detects the positive cases, but it also involves the false negatives. Specificity. On the other hand, specificity deals with negative cases and is associated with false positives. For example, if a test has a 93%, specificity. What does that mean? It means that if I have 100 individuals who are truly negative, okay, truly negative, meaning they do not have the disease. truly negative. The test will correctly identify 93 of them as negative, excluding them from having the disease. What about the remaining 7 individuals?
False positive.
They will be classified as
False positive.
positive or false positive, since they do not actually have the disease. So we have also explained this many times before as well. What about the usability? This refers to how user-friendly a tool is or how easy it is to use. Reliability is not necessarily related to accuracy or validity, but it is very important because reliability refers to the ability of a tool to give the same result repeatedly. If a measurement is performed multiple times and always produces the same result, then the tool is considered reliable. What about validity? Refers to accuracy. For example, if someone goes to get tested for COVID-19, but the test mistakenly diagnoses them with H1N1 or another disease, then the test is not valid. A valid test is one that provides accurate results because validity means accuracy. What about the stratification? The stratification can be categorized based on comments and feedbacks. Okay, so do you have any question regarding this? If none,
No.
then we said that variations in processes can be categorized into assignable and random. When we say assignable, special cause variation, and random, which is a common cause variation. This is the only slide where we emphasize memorizing the terms for special causes and common causes. So let's define them. When we say common cause variation, it is a normal problem. Okay, normal problems that are inherent and expected in process. Inherent and expected. Since they are expected, I do not eliminate them, but rather control, or reduce them. In common cause variation, we do not intervene, but rather promote reduction or improvement. What about for the special cause variation? This occurs due to unexpected or external factors. Root causes are often non-routine and are not inherent to the process. In such cases, I must intervene. Okay. Whether the variation is either positive or negative. The intervention could be what? Elimination. Okay. Special cause variation is elimination if the
Elimination.
variation is negative. Introduction or control if the variation is positive. Okay, so let's go through an example and analyze this one later. Okay. One key pattern in control chart is the shift. In the shift, all points are either above or in or below the center line. So we have here the central line, up to here, the central line. For example, if all the points are above or all the points are below, so this forms a shift pattern. The center line in a control chart represents mean. Sa control,
Me.
yeah. So equals to mean or average. What about the run? The center line represents the median. The key point in shift pattern is that all consecutive points stay above or below the center line. Now tell me, how many consecutive points are needed to form a shift in a run chart? Run chart.
6.
Come? Very good.
6.
6 points. Very good. Okay. In a run chart, 6 or more consecutive points in the same direction, and that indicates a shift. In a control chart, how many consecutive points indicate a shift? Control chart. How many?
7.
7? Sure. The answer is 8 consecutive points. Okay.
7 or more, like that.
Mm. So in control charts, shift requires at least 8 points above or
Eight.
below the center line. Now, if a point falls exactly on the mean in a control chart or on the median in a run chart, do we count it? Do we count?
No,
No, we
no.
exclude it. Very good. But do we count? Do we continue counting the sequence? That
Yes, we
depends
can
on the
continue.
next point. Because if the next point follows the same direction, we continue the counting and just exclude the point on the median or mean point. If the next point reverses direction, do you still count? If the next point reverses direction, we stop counting and restart the
No.
sequence. What about the outliers in control charts? If a point is significantly distant from the rest of the data point, what do we call it? We call it as outlier.
Shift outline.
Okay, meaning the point is significantly distant from the rest of the data points, or we call it the astronomical data. In control chart, outliers often indicate a significant shift in process behavior. Now, what if the points form a continuous increasing or decreasing pattern, such like this? Up, 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 and then here goes down, 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 down. So what do we call this? This is a
One.
very
One.
good, Radha. Yes, it's a trend. How many consecutive points are needed to form a trend in a run chart? Yalla, run chart. How many? The answer is
7.
more than 4 or more
And
points. Okay. What about how many consecutive points are needed for a trend in a control chart? Control chart? Okay. The answer
Five.
is 6.
6.
6 or more points. A trend does
Mm.
not depend on the mean or median. A trend is identified when the points continue in a consistent increasing or decreasing direction. If at any point that the pattern breaks, so we stop counting. If we observe 5 consecutive points in the same direction in a run chart, it is a trend. So if we observe 6 consecutive points in a control chart, it is a trend also. Okay? If 2 consecutive points are at the same level, do we count them as 1 or 2 points? What about this one? What about this one? We count them as 1 point. In trends, if 2 points are at the same level, they are treated as a single data point. In control charts, okay, in control charts, we have the Nelson rule, the 2-4-8 rule. Applies where points are divided into zones. We have the zone A, which has 2 points, the zone B has 4 points, and zone C has 8 points. So this help in identifying the shifts and trends in the control charts. The image provides a conclusion summary focusing on tools and techniques related to relationship, mapping, prioritization, and related methodologies. So here's an explanation. When we say relationship tools, so we have the flow chart here, a visual representation of steps in a process to analyze and understand workflows. When we say fishbone or the Ishikawa diagram, used to identify root causes of problems. And we have the 5 why analysis, a method for exploring the cause and effect relationships underlying a particular problem. We have also the PDPC or the Process Decision Program chart. This helps identify risk and develop contingency plans. For the interrelation diagram, this displays the cause and effects relationship among factors. So there is a decreased resistance we use the force field analysis, which is a tool to identify forces driving or resisting change and to develop strategies to strengthen driving forces or reduce the resistance. We also have here the prioritization techniques by using the multi-voting, a method for group decision making to narrow down a list of ideas or options. We have also the prioritization matrix, a tool to rank options based on the set criteria. We have the Pareto chart, focuses on identifying the most significant factors using the 80-20 rule principle. Removing waste steps is using the value stream map, which is a tool to visualize, processes, and identify non-value adding steps. And lastly, the idea collection, which uses the brainstorming, nominal, and Delphi. Brainstorming is through generating ideas in a group setting, while nominal group technique, a structured method for group brainstorming to ensure participation from all members, and Delphi method, a systematic forecasting process involving a panel of experts. So these tools help in problem identification and resistance analysis. If I want to analyze performance innovation in a project, I use tools such as A3 report or problem solving tool. This A3 report is a structured problem solving method. If someone asks for an A3 report, they mean a single, a single sheet of paper that contains one problem identification. We have the background information and the causes of the problem, possible solutions, and lastly, implementation plan. So all of this is summarized in one page, the A3 report. After planning, the next step is applying the plan on an A1 or A3 format. We have the PDPC tree diagram with solutions. PDPC means process decision program chart that visually represents potential solutions and decisions in a tree-like structure. We have the data tracking and visualization tools using the affinity diagram and the lotus diagram. After collecting data through brainstorming, the data is organized using the SWOT analysis. We have also SWOT analysis. We have also the checklist and the Gantt charts for task tracking. So these tools help in tracking tasks and measuring progress efficiently. Now let's talk about the integration system. There are two types of integration systems. We have the horizontal and the vertical integration. When we say horizontal integration, this occurs when I integrate with another entity that provides the same stage, service, or function that I do. So this means that both parties are offering similar services, and we integrate our systems to link operations and share data on the same platform or server. Okay, so here at the same stage in the process of delivering services. So, for example, if two hospitals provide the same medical services and integrate their systems, this is the horizontal integration. When we say vertical integration happens when I integrate with an entity that provides a different stages or services, something I do not currently offer. So for example, if I have a system but need to integrate with another provider to offer a new service. So this is called the vertical integration. Advantages of the integration is that there is a quality improvement and cost reduction, means there is an increase in the production efficiency. And next is to improve efficiency and avoid duplication of investigation overall system performance. In the healthcare organization system, there are bodies responsible for applying the management care organization standards. So one of the primary organizations in this field is the HEDIS program, or meaning of HEDIS is Healthcare Effectiveness Data and Information Set. ISQA, which is considered the mother of accreditors. HEDIS provides the application to accreditation bodies such as the NCQA or the National Committee for Quality Assurance. We have the JCI, the Joint Commission International, and the AHRQ, or the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. The AHRQ, or the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, does not grant accreditation itself. It's a clearinghouse for evidence-based guidelines. It defines the baseline quality measures for the healthcare indicators. Healthcare organizations. The AHRQ developed the AHRQ set, which includes the hospital quality measures or the developed indicators and measures for patient safety. So, for example, in the patient safety, it provides the AHRQ indicators for outpatient and inpatient care, the surgical cost indicators, and patient safety indicators. AHRQ also developed tools such as HCHPS, HCAHPS, or the Hospital Consumer Assessment of Healthcare Providers and Systems, which evaluates the patient outcomes, mortality rates, and the safety metrics. These measures help healthcare organizations determine whether to endorse or not to endorse certain quality initiatives. Okay, moving on to NQF, or the National Quality Forum, is a non-profit organization and responsible for establishing national patient safety event standards. NQF endorsement is a key measure for public reporting and regulatory compliance. And lastly, the JCI, Joint Commission International, offers the international accreditation applications. It provides global performance measures for quality and patient care organizations. JCI applications are used across the US and overseas. HIPAA, or the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, focuses on patient confidentiality, regulates the medical record privacy and data security, and it also ensures patient data accessibility and protection. When we say High-Tech Act, or the Health Information Technology for Economic and Clinical Health Act, this focuses on electronic electronic medical records, or the EMRs, and the electronic health records, or the EHRs. Regulates the management and standardization of health records. What's the difference between the EMR and the EHR? Okay. EMR means electronic medical record.
Medical records.
Yes, limited to a single medical organization. And each facility maintains its own records and does not allow cross-organization data sharing. While for the EHR, electronic health record.
Health records.
Yes, this integrates all medical records from different healthcare organizations. This reduces the data duplication and consistency while facilitates an easier access to patient history and enhances the health information exchange and patient outcome tracking. Thus, the High-Tech Act applies specifically to the management of electronic health records, or the EHR. This slide highlights the roles and contributions of two significant healthcare organizations: Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, or the AHRQ, and the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, or the IHI. Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, or the HRQ, focuses on research to improve quality and safety in healthcare and does not provide accreditation. It acts as a clearinghouse for evidence-based guidelines to standardize the healthcare practices. And it develops indicators and measures for patient safety and provides the HCA-HPS and standardized patient satisfaction survey used to compare hospitals. While the IHI, known for its IHI trigger tools, which help identify and mitigate potential risk in healthcare delivery. This outlines key programs and organizations that recognize and promote excellence in healthcare quality and leadership. The Malcolm Bridge or the National Quality Award is focused on staff as human resources to have this award. A prestigious award focused on recognizing organizations for quality excellence, emphasizes the role of staff as valuable human resources in achieving this award. Next is the Magnet Recognition Program, developed by the American Nurse Credentialing Program to recognize nursing excellence. Highlights transformational leadership where leaders inspire and motivate their teams effectively. When we say deemed status, this indicates accreditation by an organization equivalent to CMS or the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Service. Such status ensures compliance with national healthcare standards. We have the Center for Improvement in Healthcare Quality, or the CIHQ. We have the DNV and the JCI. These are accrediting bodies. CIHQ focuses on enhancing healthcare quality improvement, while the DNV and JCI are globally recognized for accrediting healthcare organizations. The system we are using here is a performance management system for JCI. JCI relies on the application of performance management. HEDIS is also a performance management system that is still developing applications for management organizations. We work together to gather training materials and create a course that compiles all the applications you need. Whenever you need to implement a specific training program, we will provide the necessary resources and applications. While for the ORIX, this ORIX initiative integrates performance measurement data into the accreditation process. These ORIX measurement requirements are intended to support the JCI accredited organizations in their quality improvement efforts. Let's talk about training and how to measure its effectiveness. How do we conduct training evaluation? There are four types of evaluation. When we want to conduct any training, we follow, okay? We follow the the ADDIE model for training. The ADDIE model states that the first stage is analysis, where you conduct a need assessment to determine the need and requirements of the people you are training. Yes, you assess whether they already have a background in the subject or if they lack prior knowledge. You conduct a pre, test, and goals to help define the training goals and complete the needs assessment. The next step is to work on the design phase, where you develop the course material, the context that you will explain or record in video format. Next, the development phase, where you conduct a final test, okay, and apply the course material into a small group, or you do the pilot test to evaluate its effectiveness. If adjustments are needed, you make improvements in this stage. After that, you move on to implementation, where you conduct workshops or training sessions. And the final stage is the evaluation, where you assess whether the training was successful or unsuccessful. How do we evaluate the training effectiveness? We use the KSA change model, which measures the behavior change. Okay. If I train staff on customer service placement, how do I check if it actually influenced their behavior? I observe whether they now greet patients with a smile, communicate calmly, treat them well, and show attention and care. This is what we call the behavior change, which is the key outcome we seek from training. Behavior change is equal to KSA change, which consists of the knowledge change, the skills change, attitude change. Finally, the Kirkpatrick model states that evaluation follows an approach based framework to measure training success. In evaluation, we go through four main stages. The first stage is reaction, which assesses participants' impressions and engagement with the course or training session. Did they find it satisfactory? Were they comfortable and enjoying the learning experience? The second stage is learning assessment. This checks whether they actually gained knowledge or not. We conduct tests or quizzes to see if they understood the content. The third stage is behavior change. We check whether their behavior has changed based on the training, which ultimately impacts the organization's results and benefits from the training, which is the fourth stage. Okay, next, let's go through the four evaluation types in the curriculum. We have the training evaluation. Okay, when we say training evaluation, this one, training, okay, evaluation. We evaluate training effectiveness using the KSA change model or the behavior change. Tama? So team evaluation, the team is evaluated based on on three key factors. So we have the productivity, satisfaction, and individual growth. When we say productivity, has the team's productivity improved? Um, do team members feel satisfied working together? And do employees feel they have gained experience and knowledge, or are they disengaged? Meeting evaluation. Before a meeting, okay, we have here the third meeting evaluation. Before a meeting, we prepare an agenda, okay, and send it to participants. During the meeting, we follow a structured discussion. Afterward, we evaluate the meeting effectiveness based on the meeting agenda and meeting report. We have the fourth one here is the performance improvement evaluation. Before starting performance, yes, Radha?
Yes.
Okay. Before starting performance improvement, we measure the current performance level. We set clear goals and track the progress toward achieving them. Performance improvement is evaluated by comparing the final outcome with the established goals. The key question here is, was the target met or not? Some process improvement approaches include the Six Sigma or the make methodology or approach, which consists of two types, the make for existing projects and the make for new projects. So another key methodology is the rapid improvement or the Kaizen. Okay, we have the Kaizen, which is widely applied in production systems and full system campaigns to enhance efficiency and reduce waste. Kaizen focuses on continuous improvement, structured problem solving, and optimizing quality management process. In quality management, the first step is quality, hmm, quality management.
Analyze.
First step is
Mm.
quality planning. Okay, where key
Yes.
factors and business needs are identified and a strategic plan is developed for the product or service. After that, quality control and quality management ensure process consistency and minimize variations to maintain high performance. So to achieve the systematic improvements, organizations use methodologies like the PDCA, Focus PDCA, PDSA, and the rapid cycle approach. Okay, so for the focus PDCA is that PDCA can be applied to both new and existing projects, while focus PDCA is strictly used for existing projects that need further improvements. When dealing with a new project, we can only apply the standard PDCA cycle, but for an already established project, focus PDCA is the recommended approach to refine and enhance its performance. The Durant trilogy are the quality planning, quality control, and quality improvement. The balance scorecard is used to measure the organizational performance. In the balance scorecard, you define the vision and strategy of the organization. The framework consists of four perspectives. We have the customer, financial, learning and growth, and internal business. For each department, you establish objective measurement targets and initiatives. So, within these four sections to ensure achievement of the strategic goals. So, that is about the balance scorecard. So, all right, let's now proceed to the utilization review. Can be conducted for either inpatients or outpatient settings. For inpatients, the review may include admission, level of care or the intensity, the treatment or procedure, the ancillary service or the resource use, the length of stay, discharge and transition care, and readmission, which is the trigger. Okay, for the outpatients, the review may cover visits, treatments, procedures, information availability, multiple visits, referrals, and overall visit management. Now, let me remind you about the SBAR. SBAR is a case communication tool used in care organizations to facilitate structured communication among healthcare workers. It is similar to the identify step in effective communication models. The SBAR model consists of the situation, a concise statement of the problem, and answers the question, what is going on now? B stands for background, provides relevant or pertinent history such as admission date, previous conditions, and past procedures. 4A, assessment, analysis, and considerations of options, and which answers the question, what do you found or think is going on? Analyzes the patient's current status, explaining what is happening, possible interpretations, and the medical condition. We have the last is the recommendation. This is a request or recommend action and answers the questions, what you want done, specifies what actions are needed, what you expect from your colleague, or the required recommendations for further management. This structured communication method ensures clear and effective handovers in patient care. Let's talk about the definition of population health. The WHO, the World Health Organization, defines population health as the health status of a group of individuals. Population health focuses on improving the health of groups of people based on SDOH, or the social determinants of health. Now, what are SODH? This refers to non-medical factors that influence the health of a community. This include healthcare system accessibility, social environment, physical environment. All of this affect the health of individuals and communities. For example, one key factor is healthcare accessibility, whether a person knows how to access healthcare services and if they're aware of available healthcare organizations. The social context also plays a significant role. If we look deeper, we find that health literacy is a major determinant. Other social determinants include the economic stability. Does the individual have a stable income? Next, education access and
Education,
quality.
healthcare,
What level of education do they have? Next is the healthcare access and quality. Are healthcare facilities available? Are they nearby? Are there transportation challenges? Next, neighborhood and built environment. Does the individual live in a safe and healthy environment? Lastly, social and community context. Is the person socially engaged and feels a sense of belonging in their community? Or do they experience isolation and loneliness? All these social determinants significantly impact a person's health and well-being. Economic stability plays a crucial role in health outcomes. This includes factors such as employment, income, and access to healthcare services. And the next is the neighborhood and physical environment also have a significant impact, including housing conditions, transportation, availability, public parks and playgrounds, mobility or the ability to walk and be independent, and parking and public transit accessibility. We have also the education and literacy are key determinants, okay, as well covering aspects such as health literacy, language proficiency, and uh, and higher education access. So the food also is another critical factor here. Does the population face hunger or food insecurity? Are there healthy food options available? We have the community and social context, which affect the well-being through social integration, community engagement, crime rates, discrimination, and stress levels. Additionally, the healthcare system itself is an essential determinant. Does the individual have health coverage? If they don't, do they have access to affordable healthcare? Are there available healthcare providers, and what is the quality of care they receive? All of these factors influence the health outcomes. The health outcomes. So, which is why population health focuses on studying the social determinants of health, or the SODH, to develop programs that reduce the health risks and improve public health. Okay, any question?
Okay.
Okay. So now I have to plug in first my iPad for a while. Is my voice still clear?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Let's proceed. In rural areas and remote communities, the same social determinants apply, but some factors are more pronounced. The most impactful determinants in rural areas tends to be education. Okay, education. As illiteracy rate, other key factors include stability or the income stability, healthcare access, community infrastructure, housing conditions, transportation availability, and food security and environmental factors. Um, for a while, can I have a 1 minute break, please? Okay, hold on. Hello. So let's proceed.
Okay.
Okay. So okay, to continue,
Now let's understand the difference between the primary prevention, secondary prevention, and the tertiary prevention. When we say primary prevention, this applies when there is no case present. The goal is to prevent the disease from occurring in the first place. This includes the health promotion, maintaining a health lifestyle, exercising, and adopting healthy habits to reduce the risk of illness. Since there is no existing disease, the focus is on preventing its occurrence, which is why it is called the primary prevention. When we say secondary prevention, applies when there is a potential disease risk or an early stage condition. For example, individuals with borderline diabetes may undergo screening tests to detect possible disease development. Examples of secondary prevention include the mammogram, screening for early breast cancer detection, and the HbA1c test for diabetes monitoring. These are measures taken to detect a disease early before it progresses. When we say tertiary prevention applies when the disease is already present. The focus is on managing symptoms, reducing complications, and improving the patient's quality of life. This includes treatments such as chronic disease management, rehabilitation programs, and palliative care to help relieve symptoms and prevent further deterioration. For example, the tertiary prevention may involve chronic disease management to alleviate symptoms. We have also the cardiac rehabilitation programs for heart disease patients and physical therapy and rehabilitation to enhance recovery. Primary prevention, like taking vitamins, promoting a healthy lifestyle, and adopting preventive health measures before any disease develops. Secondary prevention, again, undergoing mammograms to detect breast cancer or, or performing an HbA1c2 test to monitor diabetes risk. These are screening measures taken to detect diseases in early stages. For tertiary prevention, managing chronic diseases through rehabilitation programs, continuous medical care, and symptoms relief of strategies. This classification helps in understanding how healthcare interventions are applied at different stages of disease progression. Now let's talk about the care transition. When we say care transition, refers to any transfer of a patient between different departments or units within a hospital. This process is called transition of care. The ACMA, or the American Case Management Association, has defined 5 standards for care transition. One of the key standards focuses on prevention, which aims to prevent complications or reduce symptoms. The goal is to ensure that care transitions are conducted effectively. The care transition standards ranges from 1 to 5. The fifth standard involves identifying patients at risk for transition. Okay, to manage patient at risk for transition, we follow these key steps. We have the standard one, okay, which is the risk assessment, is to identifying patients who may be at risk during the transition. For the standard two, the transition assessment, meaning evaluating the patient's needs during the transition process. Standard three, the medication reconciliation, comparing the patient's medications from their current care setting to the new care setting. This ensures that there are no omitted medications, unnecessary drugs, or harmful drug interactions. A new medication list is created based on this review. What about for the standard four? Establishing a dynamic care management plan, creating a structured care transition plan for the patient. And lastly, we have the standard five, communication with the stakeholders, meaning sharing the transition plan with all the stakeholders, including doctors, nurses, and caregivers involved in the patient care. By following these steps, we ensure that care transitions are safe, effective, and well coordinated. There's a big difference between case management and community case management. When we say case management,
is a hospital-based process where a case manager is assigned to oversee a patient's condition, medications, and overall treatment plan. The case manager ensures that before the patient is admitted to the hospital, they are receiving the appropriate treatment, taking the correct medications, and following the necessary medical protocols. On the other hand, composite disease management or community case management is a broader approach. In community case management, a program is developed for a group of patients who share the same diagnosis. These patients undergo a structured case management process where their condition is studied collectively to optimize care outcomes. This approach allows for systemic tracking and management of patients within a community setting, helping to achieve better health outcomes and meet program objectives. We also go over the definition of risk. What is risk? Possibility of a loss or injury, meaning it is a factor that contributes to danger. What is the difference between risk, hazard, and harm? When we say risk is one of the contributing factors to danger, when hazard is the tool for or condition that can lead that can lead to risk. Okay, that can lead to risk. For example, if an employee is performing a task that involves potential danger, we must implement preventive measures to reduce the risk of an accident occurring. If exposure occurs and results in an incident, then it becomes harm, and the situation is classified as hazardous. Why is this important? What is the goal and what are your roles? Your role is to reduce financial loss, ensure value creation, manage risk, and oversee the processes and workflows within the organization. If there are medications, equipment, vendors, or any other operational issues, handling these concerns is part of your key responsibilities. The reduction of potential financial loss due to damage or patient injury, which is a potentially compensable events. Do RCA or the root cause analysis. Do also the FINIA or the failure mode and effect analysis. Manage the process of product recall and vendor alert. Additionally, you must manage risk control and reporting, the control and reporting within the institution. What is your goal as a risk manager? As a risk manager, your primary role is risk management. Your responsibility is to identify risk within the organization and implement management strategies to prevent or minimize their impact. Your goal is to prevent or reduce the risk of harm to patients, to staff, and to organization. You also need to identify opportunities for improvement and Hmm? take proactive measures.
Active.
Yes, to reduce potential financial losses. Here, we use the term reducing, meaning reducing financial loss rather than eliminating, as complete elimination of financial losses is not always possible. Risk control is a process of preventing loss from occurrence or minimizing loss once risk occurred. Risk control includes risk avoidance. This means avoiding the burden of risk by not offering a particular service. If providing a service, certain service, or creates significant complications or high risk, the organization may decide not to offer it all. thus avoiding potential problems. Like, for example, the organ transplantation. When we talk about the risk shifting or the risk transfer, this involves transferring liability or responsibility from the organization to an external party. For example, discharging high risk patients to specialized hospitals that are better equipped to manage their conditions is a form of risk shifting. Another example is purchasing malpractice insurance, which shifts financial liability in case of medical errors to the insurance provider. For example, making referrals. And lastly, is about risk prevention. Okay, risk prevention is focuses on proactively reducing or preventing risk before they occur. For example, using unit dose medication containers instead of bulk dose medications to reduce medication errors and drug related risk. By implementing these risk management strategies, organizations can minimize potential hazards, improve patient safety, and ensure financial stability. For example, is the unit dose medication to minimize dosing errors. The cost benefit analysis or the CBA process, which evaluates the monetary implications of a project or intervention from a prospective standpoint. The key steps are as follows. First is we have to identify the cost by determining all expenses associated with the project or intervention. This includes direct, indirect, or fixed and variable costs. Next is we have the quantified benefits. This estimates the monetary value of the expected outcomes, meaning focusing on how the project contributes to financial or measurable benefits. Next is compare, is by analyzing the ratio of benefits to costs to determine if the project provides sufficient return on investment or the ROI. And lastly is the decide. Make an informed decision based on the results of the analysis. Choose to proceed or modify the project based on its feasibility and value. The monetary focus ensures that the financial impact of decisions is carefully considered, making this analysis a key tool in resource allocation and organizational planning. How do you calculate the return of investment or the ROI? Okay, the formula here is return on investment formula equals to net profit over cost of investment times 100. So for example, let's assume that the total investment cost of a project is 10,000. Okay, $10,000. And the expected return from the investment is 10,000. Yani 10,500. So to calculate the net profit, subtract the investment cost from the return. Okay, so 10,500 minus 10,000. So that gives you 500. Okay, so in here 500 now, divide the net profit, the 500, okay, dollars, by the total investment cost. By the total investment cost. So over 10,000. And multiplied by 100. How much it will give? Yes, can you please? What's the answer?
1,505.
10,000. Divide the net profit, 500, by total investment cost, which is 10,000. What is the result? What's the answer here? Wait.
1.5, 150.
How much? So 500 divided by 10,000. That gives us
Yes, 1.5.
1.05 times 100. The answer is
150.
5.
150.
Hmm?
No,
You
1,500.
divide. Okay, the net profit. Divide this net profit 500 by the total in the total investment cost. So 500 divided by 10,000. So that is 0.05. Multiplied by 100, that gives us 5%. So if you have multiple projects, you calculate the ROI for each project individually and then sum them up to get the overall ROI. So for example, if one project has an ROI of 3%, and another 4%, then another 50%, then another 30%. You can analyze these percentages to assess the profitability of each investment. The answer here is 5%, okay? For the break-even point, the break-even point here, okay, in here, is the stage where total cost equal total sales revenue. At the beginning of a project, you are in the growth phase, okay, where expenses are high and you incur losses because no revenue has started flowing in yet. You are investing in production and operations, but sales are still low. Then you reach the break even point here, where your cost and sales become equal. So at this point, you are not making a profit, but also not losing money. You have covered your initial cost. So after passing the broken even point, the business starts generating the net profit, and the return of the investment also, and the return of the investment begins to increase. So this phase followed by the positive. Okay, this is positive cash flow stage where the business enters the harvest phase. Okay, meaning the company starts reaping financial returns and increasing profitability. Next, we have the cost benefit analysis or the CBA and cost effectiveness analysis or the CEA. When we say cost benefit analysis is retrospective. It is retrospective, meaning it evaluates the outcome after an initiative has been implemented. This is opposite to cost effectiveness analysis or the CEA, which is a prospective. And assess the cost efficiency beforehand. In cost-effective analysis or the CEA, the focus is on managing cost efficiency. CEA focus on managing cost efficiently. So for example, if an organization decides to invest in new initiative or system or equipment, the goal is to reduce patient dissatisfaction and to goal is to lower the infection rates and to increase patient satisfaction or decrease the mortality rates. Here, the organization spends money to implement an initiative that is expected to improve the key performance indicators. Once the initiative is completed, the outcomes are assessed retrospectively. That is why we refer to as cost benefit analysis or the CBA. So let's review the patient safety chapter and what patient safety culture includes. There are 5 key components of patient safety culture. We have the reporting culture, we have the just culture, learning culture, informed culture, and flexible culture. The most important aspect is reporting culture. meaning to encourage staff to report errors. The organization must ensure just culture or psychologically safety and effective feedback mechanisms. All staff should feel psychologically safe and no experience fear or anxiety when reporting incidents. The goal is to avoid a punitive culture where employees are not punished or blamed for reporting errors. Instead, we encourage reporting to improve processes, learn from mistakes, and correct system errors. The Institute of Medicine, or the IOM, introduced two key principles. One is to err is human, which means that human errors are inevitable. And since everyone makes mistakes, we must design systems that minimize errors and prevent harm. The second principle is the crossing the quality chasm. This principle focuses on achieving high quality care by ensuring the healthcare services meet the six fundamental characteristics, which are the safe care, meaning prevents harm. Next is timely, which means delivered without unnecessary delay. We have also the patient centered, means meets best practice standards. We have also effective, means achieves the desired health outcomes. And we also have the efficient, which means avoids waste and maximizes resources, and equitable, meaning provides fair and just care to all individuals. Equitable care means that all patients, regardless of their personal characteristics or social status, receives the same high quality treatment. Whether the patient is a government official or a low income individual, they should receive equal and fair healthcare services. The IOM reports, or the STEEP, the crossing the crossing quality chasm, stating the six areas to monitor the quality, okay, at healthcare. So we have, I mentioned already, the safe care, timely care, effective care, efficient care, equitable care, and patient safety care. Let's go over the International Patient Safety Goals, or the IPSG, together. One um, Goal number one is identify patients correctly. This is achieved using two patient identifiers to ensure the accurate identification and prevent errors. So, what are these two patient identifiers? Is one, the complete,
Patient's MRN number and patient's full name.
very good, the complete
Wait,
name of the patient and the medical record number, very good. The patient, I'm sorry, the goal number two is to improve effective communication. So this is implemented through the readback method, where
for
any,
communication.
yes, where any
Yes,
verbal
for
instruction must be confirmed.
verbal order, telephone order, critical
Yes,
value reporting.
critical values. Very good. So, where any verbal instruction must be confirmed, recorded, and repeated back by the recipient. The person giving the instruction must then verify that the correct message was understood. For critical values, there must be a specific time frame for reporting and communicating them to the appropriate person to ensure timely action. Okay, goal number three is improve the safety of high alert medications. High alert medications are drugs that, if used in incorrect concentrations, can cause serious harms to patients. And to enhance medication safety, this drug should be labeled with red stickers.
Red label. Yes.
Yes, red label, stored securely, and have limited access to prevent misuse. What about goal number four? Is to ensure the correct site, the correct procedure, and the correct surgery. This is implemented by following the WHO, World Health Organization surgical safety checklist, which includes sign in,
Time,
before surgery,
time,
time out
time out,
to
sign
confirm
out.
key safety steps. Very good. Sign out after surgery to verify all procedures were completed correctly. Additionally, surgical site marking must be performed by the nurse,
So by the doctor.
by the surgeon.
Doctor.
And the patient should be actively involved in the verification process. Next is goal number 5, reduce the risk of healthcare associated infections or the HAIs. This is done by increasing compliance with hand hygiene protocols, ensuring strict infection prevention measures, and reducing the risk of cross contamination. Okay, and lastly, goal number 6 is to reduce the risk of patient harm from falls. This involves implementing fall prevention protocols, conducting risk assessments for patients at high risk of falling, and ensuring preventive measures are in place. By adhering to the 6 international patient safety goals, healthcare providers can minimize risk, enhance patient safety, and improve the overall healthcare quality. The surgical safety checklist includes multiple steps. We have the sign in, which is the patient is involved, while time out and sign out. The timeout steps is performed multiple times to ensure all critical checks are completed, keeping the patient involved in the verification process. Types of errors, we have two. We have the active and the latent errors. When we say active errors are immediate, visible mistakes that occur in real time. They are directly observable like a sharp end mistake, meaning such as administering the wrong medication or performing surgery on the wrong site. We have the latent errors. These are hidden system failures that contribute to active failures. These are often referred to as blunt ends. They represent underlying flaws in the system, such as the poor workflow design, inadequate training, or communication failures. To identify and address the latent errors, we use
Root cause analysis.
very good.
RCA.
Root cause analysis, RC, is a proactive, reactive, retrospective. What's the answer?
Root cause
Is
analysis.
a reactive method
Reactive.
and retrospective
Reactive.
process. Very good, Dragon.
Retrospective.
Meaning it is conducted after an active error has already occurred.
Good.
The purpose of RCA is to identify the root causes and contributing factors that led to the error, analyze the conditions and system failures, and implement solutions to prevent similar errors from happening in the future. Okay, the primary goal of the methodologies used to analyze what went wrong is to identify user zones, assess potential harm, determine where the risk may originate from, and evaluate potential failures that could occur. And this is FEMEA. By identifying potential failures, we can analyze their effects and work on solutions proactively before the issue is experienced in real scenarios. This preventive approach helps in mitigating risk and enhancing system reliability before the failure occur. Quality indicators rely on various measures to assess the quality of care. We have prevention quality indicators, which to evaluate the perception of care and focus on preventing avoidable admissions. When we say inpatient indicators, primarily focus on mortality rates and how to reduce them. Patient safety indicators emphasize preventing avoidable complications and ensuring proper screening for all patients, including the pediatric patients. And we have also pediatric indicators focusing on quality of care in pediatric patients, ensuring specialized attention to children's health outcomes. And the last slide, the red rule in patient safety. The red rule is considered a patient safety goal, a tool, not a goal. Again, the red rule is considered a patient safety tool, not a goal. It serves as a mandatory safety measure that applies to all staff, ensuring they secure patient safety and stop the line when necessary to prevent serious risk. Empower any worker to speak up and to stop the line, regardless of rank or seniority. Red rules are part of just culture. If any staff member witnesses a patient safety violation, they must immediately report it to ensure corrective action. Examples of red rule violations include failure to perform patient identification before procedures. Next, we have sample of skipping the timeout steps or step before an invasive procedure. Another example of red rule violations is failure to conduct sponge count reconciliation during surgery. Reporting these critical safety violations ensures that patients are protected and errors are prevented before they cause harm. This concludes tonight's review and summary of key topics from each chapter of the CPPS curriculum, actually.
Yes.
So if there are any unclear points, I'm here to assist if you have any doubts or questions. So, okay, if none, thank you for listening for tonight. And
Thank you.
thank you so much for the patience. And thank you for
Thank you.
listening. Good night, everyone.
And this is good morning, kid.
Yes, it's very long. Thank you for listening and the patience.
Tomorrow I won't be there. Tomorrow I'm traveling to Riyadh.
Okay.
Sorry.
Wait.